Question number ngete kugun ba?
Oh, good.
Question number.
Okay. We'll say on page number 10, we'll begin saying in Tibetan, each verse 2 times all the way to page number 13. And afterward, we'll sing English 1 time. And I will let you the numbers. In English, on page number 11, I take refuge in the Guru, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. From now until my enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By merely creating this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyful bliss. May all sentient beings survive equanimity, feel bias, attachment, and anger. Is crowned, anointed with perfume, strewn with flowers, on miracles, encircled by the four continents, surmounted by the sun and the moon. I visualize this Buddha field and offer it. May all living beings enjoy the pure
오케이, 뭐 정말로 언니 다 강 바쁘다 그래 나 정말 때 이렇게 강하는 만들는데요. 저 정말 어떻게 지지?
Good morning to all. And thank you for joining me here. Particularly, thank you for those who tried your best, despite the matter of fact it is snowing, and but you still made an effort and joined me in this morning's Dharma discussion. Thank you and welcome. Of course, thank you for joining me online as well.
아니 단다다 곰자가 있어. 로마 돈이 곰자서 아니 딱 가정 만들 마방부로 차지나. 이제 로미 그 송득 강양으로 와지 소소셈노. 셰럽 기원이 봐. 잡아지니 하고 와지 싸우 지sem나 샤라지니. 한국 돈이 나래. 이제 로미 그 이날에 보송 들리지가니. 뜻sem니 마지바 지내니 다른 노인세.
Okay. So let's practice Aryantara mantra meditation, mantra recitation and meditation. As I repeatedly have taught the procedure or what is the proper way to meditate or practice the meditation in this particular context. So remember, the essential thing is that you gotta have a vivid sense of Aryantara's presentness, and within that, with that being secured or stabilized or finalized, and then it depends on how you're going to place the emphasis on. Maybe you would prefer to focus on the Aryantara's sacred body, or others may prefer to focus on her sacred formula mantra, and others might want to focus on or meditate on the mind. The mind of the Aryantara. So either way, whether it's body, a speech, a mind of Aryantara, so you need to apply all the knowledges and the instructions and your understanding about the body and the sacred body of Aryantara, and the speech of the Aryantara, as well as the mind of the Aryantara. And then focus on them, and then while you're reciting the mantra, and do not forget. And so Aryantara is her body, speech, and mind, and are the object of your meditation and in this particular practice.
돈 비수네 곰잠니 가지고 지금 요코지던 더 가르 쳇들이잖아. 아니 섬치든지 리디와 등 셈기바 돈 하버드 단단 가지고 나늘 거 저당가 나차 띄운 거 중에 로아스 탐치치나 판토용 쇼치 섬니 그런 요코지던 내용 어떤 얘기인데.
So as always, it is critical for you to think about or reflect or remind yourself why you doing such a recitation or such a spiritual ritual or ritualistic spiritual practice. And you gotta again through the reflection or remind yourself, and so your motivation, your intention, and for doing this has to be very clear and highly spiritual, and that means or altruistic, driven by the altruism, meaning that you wish that through this kind of practice, particularly this practice, that may all sentient beings enjoy their life, appreciate their existence by through the body, meaning they have a very healthy and a strong body, and at the same time, and then they also have a very peaceful, happy, and content and a mind. So both the body and the mind of all beings, right, and their well-being, their happiness, is the driving, is the primary reason, is the driving force behind your practice. And of course, that's the general and the sense of your mind. But in particular, you want to doing this practice because you're aimed to, by invoking and engaging in such a spiritual practice, and you wish that may the beings who are suffered by the disease in general, and in particular the pandemic of COVID-19, the situation still throughout the world haven't improved significantly, and so people are still suffering and because of this disease. So you wish that may all beings are free from this disease and or regain their health and swiftly.
We'll see the Aryatara mantra. On page number 74.
Roma Dirne Roa Chijama Lewa De Sana Gobersho Jena Bajanye Banyerte Nale Tardire Chin Ruye Nane Maliwa Tad Shongwa Miber Unum Tadang Damba Dan
Sangha
Dinjo Reperndo Kandro Serbo Soba Nyanje Sentang Danger Ju Oh yeah. Oh yeah, 딱 했던 것이 때랑 디 삽진로 지원나 사전로 데스 갈래 하고 지더라. 다 동반이 제 동이想说明什么没梦不是龙了安尼这个没有着是那安尼的他去了送的我안에 요다 때비 요바 동제 덴버 봐 코로나 특급기 될지 요를 삼매나 양 타치도 요비 타동 maybe 타니라 홍로도 되자 타니 스마노와 기지라디 다 시스템 진정 특고요자 어디 남정도 저게 갈래 갖고를 되나 삼노 유럽도 당내는 가서 당내에 요구 시기도 말다 이나 다 뚝뚝뚝 진짜 시지 같이 보세요 내가 그 정리 되고 더 좋다지 맞추지고 오세요.
Okay, let's go on to work on our today's topic. Our topic actually from on this point onwards actually is a difficult one. I must admit that I myself is not also the experts on this very profound topic that is about the ultimate nature of reality. Technically, we call it shunyata in Sanskrit or emptiness as translated into English. So what is emptiness? We have to make that kind of personalize this very profound the ultimate reality or the truth or the transcendent phenomena or the spiritual the state of understanding in to our own the first-handed personal experience, meaning we must our task or our goal is to let this very profound point of the spiritual point, the spiritual state of it and the ultimate reality manifested or revealed or unfold itself into our mind, the surface of our mind. That is our goal. And I say it is difficult. I admit it's not easy topic. It is because if you not manage this practice or this profound topic well, and you could fail to one of the extremes. Right? One of the extremes is that annihilation or nihilism, meaning that if you fail to understand or interpret it, understand the emptiness, shunyata correctly, you might end up saying, "Oh, there's nothing," okay, and everything is meaningless. So this would take you to the traps of or the side of annihilation or nihilism, because of your misinterpretation or your misunderstanding. And if you are able to avoid this trap of or the dangers of this extreme, fall into this extreme, the age of the extremism, we might or you might have to deal with the dangers of fell in the opposite extreme, ages of extreme viewpoint. That is eternalism. So to say that your practice or understanding the situation of this profound spiritual point or philosophical view, if you end up saying, "Oh, phenomena does the emptiness or this ultimate reality exists by self operating, and it's on power, it owns autonomous status. It is a kind of an independently existed the reality or the phenomena. Then you that clearly suggests that you fell to the opposite extreme, the traps of or the age of the extreme, that is an eternalism. So therefore, our job is try our very best to avoid these two extremes and make sure that our practice and our persuasion and the effort we make here does not lead us nor neither to the traps of annihilation or nihilism, nor to the eternalism. So therefore, I request to you all, and despite a matter of fact, as I said, I'm not an expert on this particular profound topic. And however, I wish you all pay close attention and try hard and work with me and try your best to understand this topic correctly.
답변은 남과지 내가 좀 용적도 시gur 남과세때 말아도 지금 거의 남과세 동바로 동비 영실라 남과세고로 동비 영도 요르는 동비 영도 요르 동비 영도 요인자 동비 영들이 샤르위에 지금 단다 대랑로이나 남퀴 영리 샤르위 점바등 점발라든지 차와때 정위 돕라든지 콩 밤에 근데 지금 텔레테는 가서 서로와데 느낌용과 아니 작발라 정발라서 봐 어떤 그 서로만 보는 영도 어떤 탐지니 남과 동비 영 요지 동비 영들라 요비 샤르위 대랑 그지 남식이 조라도 탐지영 코랑진지 잡아지 매와지 때니 정도 망보 임슬라 때니 종화인다 뒤에 당듯이나 근데 랑진지 잡아 매비 동화인바 동비 영내 아니 때니 종화 좀도 탐지 샤시근 타바 뜬 좋다와이나 아니 따 낭바 성지 좀 된게 송외니 denjong namde tongbi don de yakoji sanma shi yores ta te samlo yoko tangor tanga so ngaro namgi kita samlo na namkhiyang se namkha se tanga long ta longcho jin ba jirwa tanga namkhiyang mena deli tamji jonggu yoga ji te ja jetang namkhiyang korong tongbayin ba dendre samlo tanga na ta te si semna sharia 전부 yor samgodas.
So let's say what way to understand or approach shunyata, the emptiness, and you can use the space or the sky as a reference. Okay, let's say take a space or the sky as a reference. We all know in terms of to understand the shunyata, the emptiness. So how we use space or sky as a reference, a point to understand the emptiness? Here's the thing. So essentially, sky or space does exist, isn't it? Right? It is there, undeniably. And because it does exist, and it's functioning, so therefore it gives the rise or sort of provide the stages, a platform for all that to be able to manifest it. Take example like today, right? Because of this space, the openness of the sky and space, and it formed so it made the clouds and the elements and functioning or moving, so sort of the turning around by themselves, and whereby they formed a cold, that's something that is cold in nature, and then again because of this openness of the space, and then that cold thing turn into probably some kind of moisturized or not moisturized, something is kind of formed up, and then turn into the snow flakes, and then here so we're experiencing the snowing day, and then from this very snow that we experiencing, and we got the sensation of cold. And for some of you, maybe it's a bit enjoyable. For some of you, it's a kind of a pain or troublesome. So we experience it individually according to our conditions, experience the comfort and discomfort, or the joy and or pain. So see, this how this space, the openness of the sky or the space, and affect us, right? And it affected the nature of the weather, right? Made it sort of turn in a particular period of time, and then functioning or doing brought the created or brought up something that is very different. And then we, as a living being, and depend upon and or sharing this phenomena of openness of space, then got to find ourselves experiencing and experience ourselves very differently according to the change of the nature of the weather. So this link, we take this phenomenon and then one more step to our spiritual endeavor. We see that just like the space, right, and is there, right? It's a kind of empty and nothing, right? Really, you can pinpoint or you can locate in, and or you can sort of track down and find out. However, nevertheless, it doesn't affect in the transformation of the material phenomena, and it doesn't affect the changes of the seasons and the weathers, or anything that forming in a different way materialistically. So that clearly shows that see, even though the sky is empty, space is empty, but the dependent arising, it made it possible to have this phenomena of dependent origination or dependent arising, or made it everything is dependently functional and dependently working. So then from there, we as a sentient being, we experience variously and according to the various the conditions, a variety or the variations of the conditions that we experience ourselves or find ourselves in very differently. So this phenomena which we observed, the relationship between space and the openness of the space and the materialistic change of the functionality of the material phenomena, it shows that the emptiness and the functionality of the phenomena, it does not really prevent each other, but does not sort of against each other, but rather is harmoniously support each other. It's kind of provide some kind of a stage, or made it possible for both this emptiness of the space and the functionality of the material world, the working and collaboratively and very harmoniously. So this is the reference and if we use this as a reference point and lead that or take it integrate it into our spiritual practice, and then we can say that the dependent origination or the Buddhist understanding of the ultimate reality and the phenomena of the material world, it does work in perfectly, and it began to make a clear and great sense, right? So as a Buddhist, right, as the seeking of the ultimate reality inwardly, inner words, we number or the inner word, and the followers of seeking of the teachings of enlightenment. So we do have to see that from this relationship of the emptiness of space and its relation to the material world. In other words, from the functionality of the material world and from the status of the material world and its relationship to the emptiness of the space or the openness of the space. And I think that this way, as a Buddhist, we can find ourselves that what we are learning and what we are trying to understanding, and it's truly it's very meaningful and make a great sense.
근데 딱 말한 거 단다 단다 롱쇼가 같은데 지금 직든 지금 거는 나랑 롱쇼에 근데 나랑 롱쇼에 직든데 강아지는 나랑 두질라 남시즈니 대초시 사신 그렇게 비시와지고 봤디 점진들은 아주도 하고 요라 아주 참 미성 단다 그제시 지지 년기 고기와다 암족고 넘버 시와요 지금 통지와도 정말 뭐그 넘버 시와요 근데 아니 지 공부가 더 많이 비든데 롱쇼아지고 텔라 때는 아주 직든들에서 듣고 나랑도 티 남부 시왔던 매화 차소나 나랑도 나지 직든도 탐증 코테닌 종알 맞도 나진지 더 봐요 말어 대차당 나랑도 잠바 토마스 요시모 공으로 yap던 카톡단도 통준비 ዝግ때 yap던 카톡 요텔라 ዝግ시고 텔라 때네 나랑도 무기요나 무기 통요도 참아 통되고 나랑도 무기 점데 무기 맹킨 강속 텔라 때나면 롱쇼요 봐다 무기 맹킨 텔라 그런 걸로 yap던 카톡 요 말. 이나 yap던 카톡 종한테 그런 거 무기 요 봤던 또 니가라 텐진이 에는 좀 걸때다 텐종 같은 세대 들리지니 삼루땅에나 아니 랑진 탐절라 파결지니 용나더니 sem나한테서 코리지고 그러지.
So we all are experiencing or appreciate, enjoying ourselves, find ourselves as enjoying, appreciating, or acknowledging, and there are things that does exist and does affect us or related to us, or we are, it's a sort of the resignating and to our senses, right? And there are things we appreciate it, right? We like it a lot, we enjoy it, right? For example, so we have this, we are talking to each other, right? Right now we are communicating and through the language. How we can hear each other, right? How we know someone is talking and you listen to, how you notice that you are hear something from somewhere. That's addressing something, commenting on the text, but rather you are at the same time, the function, the faculty of your ear is working perfectly, right? For that reason, we can communicating through the language. Right? See, right here, the dependent arising is functioning and working. Clearly, this is a perfect example of how the dependent arising is functioning, is replaced. It shows that it got a very unique role to play. Similarly, if you take an example of the eye in the faculty, or the sense of eye, right? And so obviously the very functionality, the things that the eye faculty can do is to detect the shape and the color, or anything that involve with the color and the shape, right? So whenever you see the things that's involved with the color and the shape, that's not only because objectively the color and the shape are there, right? But it is equally important that your eye function or eye organ, the faculty is functioning, working appropriately. So therefore, you can see the color and the shape, or the things, the events that involve with the color and the shape, right? Here again, see the dependent arising, and we can bring into the Buddhist concept of dependent arising, and see that how it is perfectly working. And so the opposite example is that for those who lost the vision, who lost the vision, or who can't see at all, like a completely blind person. For they completely blind person, and the color and the shape, or the things, the events that involve with the color and shape, or associated with the color and shape, it does not exist. For them, it is meaningless, right? As if there does not exist at all, right? And then we can take again, this is a clear example that it's a color and a shape that does exist objectively and externally. However, if you had trouble with your the faculty or the organs of or the senses of eye and your eyes, then this the so-called I see shape, or I see this and that will not come as a living experience. So this is another example of how the dependent arising is working, or in this case is how it works differently. And then if we take it more further, something that's more abstract, let's say the consciousness, right, or the mind. So we all experience the sadness and something that's enjoyable, right, and the peace, or something is good, something wonderful. But at the same time, we might also experience something that's very bad and very hard in our consciousness, or with our consciousness, our mind. So that shows that the mind, God is some kind of unique objects, right? Or it made some kind of formed a relationship with a particular event, and so for that reason, that's the relationship between the consciousness of mind and with that particular the fact, or the things, the events, which associated or formed the relationship mind. So it does affected the states of the mind, right, or the consciousness, right? And so even though the mind or consciousness is abstracted phenomena, but our living experience clearly tells that the dependent arising is functioning, right? And we do living right in the middle of the this very the reality or the truth of dependent arising. So anyway, the color from the sound, right? The words, sound, and the color and the shape, or any obstructed the mental objects, the mental phenomena, all the way we see that we see, we hearing, we feel, right? We're experiencing, and all these are dependent on rising, right? And if you have no ear or your ear function and the faculty is broken or is lost its functionality, then as we said, you can't detect any sound. Similarly, if you lost the vision, you can see anything that involved with the color and shape, and as well as if you had any trouble with mentally, again, that will affect you accordingly. So then you take this to our relationship, a human relationship, right? Day-to-day living experience into a more and more further, deeper and deeper into our spiritual practice or understanding of the Buddhist teaching, and then you will see everything, all are how they are related to each other and how they are functioning and as units, as a kind of a united one entity. However, and with different aspects, but they are how they relate to each other and how they affect each other.
오야 다때니 마치 로즈 니와 돈든 상습 지 셈정위 디네 담바톱네 성와된 시송데 저 탁바 쳔보 리진 람란직 비츠라 토머 동니기 따와 담버시니 실 탑기 챌린지 바 요무경 온경 딜르네 토머 호루 땡기 치즈 저 셈바당 니즈 젠돈 당 상습 돈니기 상습지 셈 양락 당지와 럭버 고버시니 아니 탑기 차라 곰바 담부지스 성와 돈담비 상습지 셈 담비 인노지 돈든 상습지 셈 정위 값스 치는 물음 월성섬 마리 마 키르피 시라 슐스 님부 니경 랑스트롤 람킹오 근징 작 근징앙라 작 시송와터 디츠강 데라 츠강 땅보는 종외 이기 디위 치는 데메트 단라 베츠 로세 어떤 파트지 로잖아.
Okay, let's go to our text. So we're going to read the text says, okay, the time for, and we're going to talk about the page, your translation, the copy page 109. The time for imparting the teachings. The text says, when stability has been attained, impart the sacred teaching. The way people of the great vehicle lineage generally venture into the spiritual path is that they initially stabilize their view of emptiness and subsequently engage in the aspect of practicing concerning method. However, according to this tradition, you first deeply contemplate the four fundamental topics, practices. Practice, you become well acquainted with the awakening mind and its attributes, seeking the meaning of enlightenment in the interest of others. In this tradition, it is only after you have stabilized your acquaintance with the aspect of a method that the sacred teachings concerning the cultivation of the ultimate awakening mind is impacted. In the context of training in the ultimate awakening mind, the text says, consider all phenomena as like dreams. Examine the nature of unborn awareness and remedy. The remedy itself is released in its own place. Place the essence of the path on the nature of the basis of all. The first line indicates the method for determining the lack of true existence, including amongst the objects that are apprehended by the mind.
단디 돈도 가르치고잖아. 절당하니 치트용으로서 동비니 동원이기 돈도 달라 판데 되니 봐. 아니 탑지 차는 직비 차지 용기 오래시. 난 단다 로종님이 오전데 그런 당보 언니 탑기 차 탐지 언니 지금 점령지 성지 섬라 소바데 잠이절라 소바 찬성 뭔데 시엔니 얘는 다마다 동반이 돈도 달라 받고 오래시. 동동으로 통도 시고 오시.
So the essence of the what we read is one point of the one critical point is made or raised is that so there are ways to guide the or initiate guide the novice of the trainees, the practitioner into this the practice, okay, the essence of or the teachings of the path of enlightenment. So one way is that it teaches the individual learner and directly by the means of introduce the teachings of emptiness, which is the secret teaching of emptiness into to the students or to disciples, and lead them by the means of this method, right? And then help them to develop the further or engage in the practice of the skillful means aspect of Buddhism or Mahayana path. Here, in this tradition means the tradition of mind training and tradition. It does not go that way, and its method is that instead of by introducing or teach the topics of emptiness, start the teachings trainings with the subject of emptiness, but rather it chooses to train the student by the means of introduce them to the skillful means of the aspect of Buddhism, such as first introduce them what is the loving kindness and the compassion and so and other basic the four means of the or techniques of the mind training, meaning that to help them to develop the greater compassion first, which is the skillful means aspect of the Mahayana path. And so therefore that's why it says that in this tradition the way to approach the approach is different. It is focus on instead of focus on or not focus instead of initiate.
It's 11 o'clock.
By introducing to the emptiness, but rather introduce lead the students by the means of the teachings of compassion.
다 동반이 기존도 영라 곰나 가는 거라서나 근데 치는 말아서 낭위는 치 탐지네 멀음다고 삼고래 멀음지 나와나서 멀음세 말아서 용이 좀 내지 통고 내도 소라 용고를 지정 연구를 대화 연구를 이나 니 세트로 강 요 말와 텔라치 덴징 진바 연구요 말 대자 말음 나지 삼고래 생각 직든도 탐지 말음 나지데 나와 잠지 접어를 텐데 롱수 초라 용량네 아니 타마데 며 창로 나라도 미 멋지게 미치게 멋지 삼당나 나라 마키니 기와 말음비 로치크 홍네 네이탄다 직폰도 가요르는 요 말와 티 드튼지 드네 아니 기오 놈비 레강 드튼지 쇼치든 지티나 남시도 참조르더니 딘 참든 미기 리튼 참조론 좀 가더니 미세 기발렌서 텔라티니 망 미세 딱 뜻더니 애는 봐 주조와 촌에 디 타마텔 시송이 로 간진지네 단다게 스푼로 라 드팅고 바 팀송네 동배양라 마 팀사로 데나 딘 참원에 땅에 남식이 인도 젠즈가 참조론 프로그램 미 나타나 미세니 미 겨울엔 미 토마당 타만이가 지기딘 며 차송을 동배양라 바 팀사 이나 동배양라 팀사를 디바로 때나가 좀 겨울엔 디바로 데디 초라몽 분용하데 다 초로 좀 거라 된사다 델라테니 말음 나진 지그레 스트차 좀 말음 나진 지그레 아니 말음 나진 자네 마키기 피시 실라 쇼제 된사다 아니 티 딱시 지르피 쇼바제나 어토노 덴드브지 얘기요 말했어 무시바 무시 동비 영지 쇼용을 써 어디 때 영어서 때 용 닐링 오마데 샘기 닐링 오마데 또송아이나 코로나니 뇨모진이 때문에 년보된지 된지 고 말고 뇨모스 탐증하고 레디크 소라 랑슬 파시도 그래지 람킹오 근지한테 장세 어딘서다 람세니 지금 조금 지고 같아요 말 동비 영라파 샘긴 일거라 파 양도 그래지 베나 말문나다 소화되는 방법도 연구하나 니사소나 말문 그 소화되는 정말 양라다가 몇 차소 어디는 지금 알아서 샘긴 일 정말 뭐 일도 시송와에는 알아서 단다 데디그 소화직 띵 네타마즈 랑징그 매어 착그래 어떤 도도로 송고서 당이 쇼소도 시모도 고아라스나
그래서 뭔가 제가데 시송나니 소소 대창고 이 서로 뭐 춤바다더니 제와라마티 버르등이 세우 좀 와서 기소다
아주
디카비데도
미다 니께월은 다는가 미세드 미세월은 미가 미세 더더지등의 pom보도 미가 접찬로 대처반사 안에 지금 오더라서 미세고라 당하지만 미가 시송나 우드 롱도 차송나 때리는 병이 능가 남시도 포로 포셨다 남시도 잔드강 로아강시가 참조는 띠 로아도 차로마도 미 로아다 띠는 지디 송을 단당이 개완디 체당 지금 미 로아 지디 송이랑 인 마치파까지는 개와시만 로아데 남식 서리크 차직다 파 존치로 버때자 다단당이 리텐데 코 드튼징오 남식 니와드 냠송도 때는 종학 샤와치고 말때 종 니와냠로 니와냠나 코런징 루니 마치네 드팅오 바 팀송했더니 단 지기디로 버때니 땅 단다 nga세데 말음 잠즈마 또 단당이 지지리 지지시아즈 동라즈 말음 나스마 또딱 강아잔데 손에 직된다 얘기요 말와 어떤 아주 로자 탐바 공부 미츠마 단다 강아잔데 예배 요 말와 다 로지 잠즈마 또 어때 사람 말음 나지 된다 그러지 삼동시나
yeah okay well let's try to see what we can get out from this paragraph. First of all, so again, shunyata, or the emptiness. So the way to teach, to learn, like a text says, up until this point, we know that all we have discussed is merely focused on the skillful means aspect of the path, right? But from this point onwards, and we are supposed to be ready and to engage in the secret teaching of the shunyata, or the emptiness. So the way how we approach emptiness, then the ultimate reality, the shunyata. the text give us an important reference. That reference is saying that the way to understand the ultimate reality is by observing or understanding. Okay, so what is the dream? How dream works, right? How dream affect you? What the relation between your existence of as a person and the experience of you that you have in your dream. So the technique which the author offered, given us to help us understand the emptiness is to working with our own experience of a dream. We know that while we were in dream, right, and we could experience all kinds of the things, right? And maybe at one point in our dream, we would feel so scared of, right? Worried about it. And so about it, so experienced a tremendous stress, right? Caused by anxiety. But when you wake up from that dream, and so you immediately find that that's such a great release, right? Relief, and you get this absolute sense of oh shoot, I'm free, and it's great. Very moment, right? A clear understanding of oh, it was a dream. So you freed yourself from the grasping of the phenomena, the self of phenomena, meaning that you by realize that whatever you had in your dream was an illusion, was illusional, was not true. So you're no longer grasping something that is true, something is truly existed or happening. So that very recognition or understanding of it was a dream or abandonment of the grasping at truly existing phenomena, which freed you, right? And you give you the put you at ease and great freedom. So this is a great example. To think about a dream, then or use it as a reference to meditate on or think about the profound meaning of emptiness, right? And we can also go sort of a little bit more stretch out and look at this way and try to understand the emptiness. So we all have this clear sense of who we are, and we are living, we are here, and we are, respectively, and each of us would identify ourselves as an independent individual, right? However, if you challenge your sense of identity, self of a person, of you, who you really are, and by thinking this way, just think, prior to your own conception or contraception, in other words, prior to the pregnancy of your mother, of you, right, prior to that moment, right, you surely not who you claim you are now, right? But from the moment of the pregnancy of your mother with you, on the contraception, the consumption of you, and then what you started with, right? You started with by forming your own physical sort of aspect of you, meaning that so in the womb of your mother, right? And you began to your body began to develop, right? Began to forming by all kinds of probably like cells, molecules, right? And very subtle and the materials, right? The items, and then so other stuffs, elements, and then keep growing and keep forming, and then gives you this finally this solid entity, the object, right? Become a solid sort of in a sense, right? A material, the object that you called yourself a body, or you are on physical physical existence. So see, and then right from the moment of you and you end up in your mother's womb, and then all the items, the subtle those molecules and cells are drawn to you, right? And to give the rise of your own physical the body, but to help you develop the sense the physical the body of your own being, right? And you can see that how they've been formed and being started and keep growing, and finally it's become something and is mature, right? And then you born, right? After you born, right, the things began to decline, right? And then little by little, a moment by moment, finally it takes you to the point of what we call the kick off the basket, or clearly speaking, is death. So now you die, right? And right after you die, meaning that the last when the last the breath, right? Your last breath become air, right? Or cut off from the continuation of this process of inhalation and exhalation. When it is as soon as cut off, we claim, right, you are dead. So what happened then? Your body, as was originally formed, right, and started with the molecules and cells and those subtle items. Right now, it's began to deteriorating, right? Began to fade away and then dissolve into its own aspect of the domains of the elements, right? And so here you are end up in the after death, the stages after death, which is a kind of in a sense it's like a dream, right? So and our experience and our analysis also clearly tell that at the moment when you die, right, just like when you're born, if life is absolutely merely a material phenomena, everything is about the something that's is 100% is kind of material or the matters, then we know that the so-called consciousness are starting at the point of sense noting or acknowledgement experiencing would it's impossible to begin with, right? Similarly, after you die, right, so your body and your consciousness as separated. your consciousness, although your body is dead, is no longer functioning, but your mind or consciousness as a awareness, as a unity, a unit of an entity marked by being aware of and illuminating, right? That aspect of you, the consciousness, since it is an immaterial, it's not the matter, so therefore it continues going on, right? And then keep going. So yeah, that's what the if it is like we know that if everything just like the material, including your consciousness, right? Then it will cut off and then no longer will continue. In fact, the if we go this sort of the nihilistic view, then you can't explain, or you will contradictory. You will find yourself is in the midst of all kinds of contradictions, right? So anyway, and the point is that we do need to apply our intelligence, right? And to by the means or by reflecting upon the dream we had, by observing, analyzes the phenomena of a dream to understand that you know the emptiness, right? In our mind, or particularly our nature of our mind, right? Is how they related to each other. Like a text say, if you understand the dream and then you understand the nature of how the dream is functioning, how to free yourself from this the illusion, right? By grasping the illusion, which is grasping at truly exist phenomena, you will have this experience of relief or freedom, just like as soon as you wake up, you find yourself is at ease and free and at peace and sound and perfectly all right. So similarly, like text says, if you understand the nature of your own mind, so you do, even if you do understand the true nature of your mind, you do not even apply what we call generally called the antidote to cope with your the troubles or the samsaric the challenges you experience in your samsaric existence. Why? Because in the nature of your true mind, right? And you know that everything here they call the basis of all, or the alaya in Sanskrit. So the basis of all, Tibetan Kunshi, right? And so which is just like a sky or space, right? So itself is there. It's kind of a self. It's a self state. It is a self, the state of self soul, or you can say, and it is simultaneous. It is spontaneous, and so just like space sky, and so it's in the state of your dream. So in the dream, everything is the state of open space, right? The consciousness, the mind. So you are in the state of this space consciousness, where you had this illusional experience of the dream. So, but it doesn't really prevent you, and right, to have all kinds of this awful, right, and include the nightmare-like experience with your own dream. But as soon as you wake up, and then all those negative experiences goes back to its own. In this case, is the consciousness or the basis of all. So if you understand this point, you would understand the emptiness, and you will experience the tremendous absolute sense of the release and peace and the bliss.
까먹지 좋아들린 요나.
So we have about 10 minutes, and anyone has any questions?
Okay.
Thank you, Gabriel. That was a very profound teaching.
Can you please speak a little bit
Yes,
more close
yes.
to the
I
microphone?
actually have a question that was emailed to me. So let me just read it. What is the right view to assess when adverse events and circumstances equally impact many people around the world at the same time? I'm talking about karmic interdependence. Can we also talk about collective karma?
Okay. That is Tamunga lay down Tamu mind is correct. What the Tamunga league then you want was juggling the Kangan and get down and it's Suzuki Raniki Tamungi to Tamu mind and the lays that zombie China Tagos did and the parts they work under Zubores. That chinchilla Panama toes go away.
그래. 다 터모 많이 비 레세든 알아 소소 아니 배는 알아서 터모의 레스는 아주 미치 담박 냠때 칼라 상아 하는 지나 칼라사게 요나 디는 칼라사야 된 알아서 터모의 레 터모 레가 터모기 제거를 소미사기 요. 이나 터모 많이 비 레스 디는 사고 어때 냠때 사기 어때 네 사주때 쿠사고 마케 사주때 네 사고 마 소소사유 소소마도 이제 지금 참하게 지금 사유 소미사 듣고 말때 잣때 터모 많이 비 레 Really the most.
So let me first of all share my experience of the relationship between the individual karma and the collective karma, a common karma and uncommon karma. So common karma and the great example to understand is this. Suppose we all or everyone, right, who approach the same pot of soup, right? So we have a bunch of people. We all are walking towards one soup pot, and a pot cooked with the soup has been prepared, right? So now, as far as we all had this opportunity of have gathered together, right, and going to share the same food, right, from the same soup pot, that's a very phenomenal. And at the very experience of what is happening to all of us, you can say this is a perfect example of common karma or collective karma, or caused by the common karma and collective karma. But the individual karma, however, is that it doesn't matter how you try, what you think. So the portion of the food, the soup you got, right? You pour into your own cup, and you enjoyed it. You consumed it. Is definitely is not the portion, right? And of any others who put it into their own cups. Similarly, the way you experience that portion of the soup, how you experience it, is not how others cannot share, is not how others would experience it. So this is a clear example of how the individual karma or the uncommon karma is functioning.
그렇죠. 아니 대랑빈 남시 로즈 남시 장모 차때 가라서 델라유 미 참마게 장모 용기와데 아주 터모 리스 사가요. 그러는데 내랑 아로 삼아 미 겨와래 바텔란데 사자 찍으려요 데그 탐목이 리지를 남시 당못단 바데 이나 장목고 초라냥 당도 소수 탐모 많이 말 미카시 하장 작거로 미카시 시대 작고 말고 그런 탐모 많이 비 지를 때 베이존나 어때 때 벤촌 지르지
Another example, if we take what's going on now in this very moment here, right? Today it is snowing, it is cold day, right? We all are, at least who we are here in this temple, and we all are get together in this very moment and in this particular place, right? In this particular moment and in this particular day, we all know that it is a cold day, snowing day. That experience of it is a cold day, it is cold, and we all here sharing that very coldness, or the nature, the temperature, lower temperature. That is a collective karma or common karma. That's because we all are accumulated. This is the accumulation, the result of our own collective, commonly collected karma. So for that reason, since we collectively collected, commonly and collected, so therefore we are here now, experience the same thing. However, now, as far as the volume or the intensity of the coldness, how lower the temperature is, all individual whose experience of the so-called coldness could be varies from person to person. For somebody, and today is really cold, right? And for others, it's okay. That's not that bad. So therefore, see, when you're looking from this, how you experiencing as an individual, and or how you share it collectively, this is you can clearly see the relationship, and you can and the differences. This is another example of how the collective karma is working and the individual karma is working.
다 벤촌잖아 저땅 린디 차상시 봐 십드 배 설조나 시고나 다 대차 통보 말르나 갈리하고 왔다 예땅 긴 가르치 텔리 가르치는데 종화르스네 어떤 게 로지션의 방법을 평범한 인정세 모진 써야 되게 미급격을 주고 그세요 그런 거 혹은 록벨람나시니 다마 성지 좀 된디 롱기 다니 지마스 받더니 다마 성지지 코시치션 코다주고 고모토버 어떠zo 나때 미조 일로마 성질을 좋아지는데 간다치 잘 간다 정도네 그 교황 오멍 맞을라고 여우들라 뻔이기네 뻔 총화대 당송진네 딸하라전에 그 기위샤와도 뻔체데 여우진네 야시종네 이마 뻔체데 감바데 종송네 당송도 마 인치미 야세 고고요는 마 전부진네 마 단지시용네 다코 종금에 그 총종원네 당송식은데 반데 치와진네 어떻게 가만히 맞고 그 동서로 단지시용네 근데 담아코 다 여우진네 다 다운로드로네 근데 코노베 발랑함진네 동서 다 보면 용주가 코랑 롱쇼가 되는 그 정으로 때 미망부터 나와만로 지는 미급작급시고 그 담반냠 좀 지네 그 타주지야서 여우도 세고 타주지더니 코는 여우도 티작으로 사진로 랑칸이 셀스 세진이 에네 담아데 그런 상마가 왔다 여우사 좀 빼고 정도네 지스이랑 지리 링이 종이 섬군이 리지와 딘 니왈라 때니 여우도 세고르 여우디 몰음 가르 여르나 고 호마 야시 장네 에네 르라지니 인종라 좀이다서 경로도 잠부지는 가 통화 티용 말이지 담아 경로종이 소제리 단당이 기윈 드우지는 띠껴와 몽골의 경로도 소주 벌써 콜롬 잡는데 코티 세당 시송 되게 띠 데월라 때네 겨와 몽보데 소제르스 코티 그저 미급약 겨완다만데 겨완네 영세 영때 몽보 겨완렘 버티 아니 나민진 데월스 코티 타모고 나민진 데월스 어때 타모세데 텐데 코로스 상마기 냠때 같이 당복 차시 당 드네 레트 발렌탑 지마지 스이랑 지나 또 정말 세데 미식세데 미트 정말 고고 차정 등 니와도 종고 어떤 자다 타모일이 세데 드르스
Now, if we take this topic of a relationship between the individual karma and the collective karma, or common and uncommon karma, into the more spiritual level, the Dharma teaching, I think it would help us to make more sense. First of all, there is a story, and back to ancient India. Once upon that, according to basically, it's according to the Buddha Jakarta. So Buddha Jakarta is the life story of the Buddha, or the previous life story of the Buddha, and the Buddha Shakyamuni in his previous lifetime. So according to that hagiography, what happened is that one of the story and says that there was a king in ancient India. So he had the son who the back to story that the outcome, the highlight, the peak of the important point of this story is that so one person who killed 999 individuals in his previous lifetime, but when Buddha Shakyamuni was around, and then this very individual who made Shakyamuni Buddha, and then he took the teaching and followed the Buddha Shakyamuni and practiced Dharma. Then he attended the Arahant Buddha to become Arahant in that lifetime. But he was back to his previous lifetime. He was a serious killer. He killed 999 individuals. So now there's a story. The Buddha shared this story and by revealing, showing that the karma, how the karma is working. By the way, to really understand the karma and explain that correctly, you have to you must achieve a very high level of the spiritual realization, right? And because this is a hidden phenomena, right? And so the individuals like a Buddha can clearly reveal the secret and can clearly explain the subtlety the subtle relationship between the cause and effect of the individual person's life and the individual the karma he or she created. So now let's back to Buddha's story. Just like according to the Buddha Jakarta, so the king had two sons. One of them was a Brahmin, and for the practitioners of probably Vedic, the followers of Vedic tradition, and or the Hindu religion. And this man, the princess, right, because he's the son of the king, and who left home and went to the cave in the mountain. He was dedicated himself to the spiritual practice. But something happened, and then the king, as the son, the second son, was not able to succeed his throne. So the king needed someone to be his successor. Then the king decided to call back his son, who is now is a highly advanced Brahmin, or the practitioners of ancient Hindu tradition. So upon to he could not really, he had to obey to his father, the king's order, and he returned home. And so to be the prince, to be the king, succeeded the king's throne was not his the personal choice. He took over his father's the throne and become the king. So after he became the king, because he has this absolute power, and then he decided to select 999 girls or the women
말도 아까
from
그 노스 모르다. 코로나 뜻이고리 그 깨당한테다 미국제다 동서부는 미국제가 지금 비처럼 깨당하라. 여우지리 찾조때 코로나배 다 나만 로그 참마 코로나 당고 배주 당데 된디 당고 들다 때 마망가 농가 말. 그때 노스. 코로나 여우지네데 코로나 나만 로그 참마로 당보 코로나 롱전에 냠든 좀 전에 다 여우사가 차시당 가르쳐. 차시는데 여우 이마 치자서 다 당보 코너 콘터를 남아 사와 당나 당보 코너 롱전에 되니 파 당보 제가 때다 노마 당보 그게니 루토니마 댄디싱긴 잠보 체험부터 양다 코너주 동바미 참바쳐도 여우다 야부 동선을 야부 동네 빈자 감바티 야서서 빈자 감바트 동네 때코 마망그 잠보지 마쳐 되게 자다 딘저와 댄디시
Okay. All right. My apologies. I think I need to make a couple corrections. First of all, the king actually the king had two sons, right? And the second son, and after king passed away, the second son and become the king. However, something happened. He was dead. Then the villagers or the countrymen actually the subjects of that kingdom, and they all get together and kind of reach the agreement. They wanted to call the first son of the king, who is the Brahmin, and who is the one who practiced the Vedic or the ancient Hindu religion in the mountain. So they, because they needed someone to take over to be the highest, the head of the government, right? And so then they called him, forced him come to back to the palace and to lead the government or the king, the kingdom. So what happened is, here's the thing. After he became the king, and then he began to exercise and use his highest power and authority. So when somebody's son got married, right, to a girl, and he used his absolute power, and forced that very woman, the girl, which is of course a bride, right? Bride, the sleep with him first, right? And then the next day I go to the groom. So he did this with practice the same thing. He did the same thing for 99 times with a 999 individual person. Because of his very corrupted, evil action, and he of course pissed off. He made the 999 people very mad, very angry. Then they get together. They decided to kill the king, right? So once they reached agreements, and then they decided how to assassinate the king. One day, while the king go to some kind of public bath top, where the people were taking a bath, and then they captured the king, and which was Brahmin, and killed him. But before they killed him, beheaded him, so the king made a prayer. He said a prayer that may all my the merits, the powers of the spiritual the spiritual power which I have accumulated would support me, help me. May I use all this power and merits, and in the next life, in the future, when I am reborn, I can revenge to kill all those 999 individuals who are engaging in this killing or take off my life. So he made that he made that prayer, and then he died. Right? And then here is the common part. So because those 999 individuals who engage in the killing of the king, who involved with what we call the 3 stages, involved the total 3 steps of the steps in terms of the completion of the karma. So therefore, they had to experience the revenge of the king in the coming future lifetime. So the 3 states they completed was that first of all they engaged in the preparation, right, of the killing, and secondly, and they took an action to kill the king, and then last step they rejoiced, they celebrated, they appreciated what they have done in this killing. So since those 3 preparations are being completed, right? The 3 steps are completed and taken, so therefore the karma is becoming inevitable. So that's why the 909 individuals who had to suffer and of the revenge of the killing.
Oh yeah.
是不是这样？
Ready.
让我们去做。
건다. Okay, that's how many. Yeah, that's so not it. Oh yeah, that was a lot of money. So okay, let's start pray.
So closing prayer on page number 80.
Just number.
Page number 80.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Geshe-la Kunga, Tenpa Tenzin. If you would like to make a donation for this teaching, it would be greatly appreciated by the monks and the monastery. And you can do this by calling 812-336-6807 or by emailing the center at tmbcc.kcl@gmail.com. If you would like, here, I'm going to pass around the begging bowl. And if you would like to make a donation here in the temple, it would be very appreciated. And at 12, we'll have another teaching by Geshe, I believe, Gyatso. We'll be teaching the Shantideva's Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. All right, thank you.
Lo me ma re ge don do wa nam de ya we wang bu
dajur dermaso tero hono jambe yanje zewi jezon dambe remba gong je yene yana neche range je do be lamje Chura ze we ta je do we je mo se je ya we den ba yo ran zen je Tamberim Soge Mahayu Chajanyam Burjurve Chonde Nyanje Shembo Yera Choba Pandita de Sawar Shevarsha Seje Yave Mosundele La Roshanjo Lamji Rembe Tardo Namji Yahweh Ramdo Jonjur Lam Sande Gaje se ye dame Zero gondo yavi abaye nanda landa dawar fire kanze ba chola chijo Chanjuranje Abaden Zawe Lama Rinpoche Daye Nyingar Pame Denjo Karen Jembo Gone Jezonde Gozon Zado Zo Chanjo Semjo Rinpoche Maje Chewa Nyamba Mebar Kone Gondo Dever Sho Kare Rave Kove Jengam Pendon Dewa Mame Chungwe Chenre Zewa Denzen Yazo Ye Shabe Sende Bardo Denjo Jamba Bao Jedara Jemba Dang Kunda Zambo Deyon Dejen Teta kunje jeso dalo jan jewa deda tamche no shabe jawa tamche je ngawa kanga ngaba de daje je zawa de won Sambo Juji Rabdu Mowaje Pende Yonje Tenzin Jewo Tamje Gongan San Doje Gongla Ne Sanje Tenpa Tando Jejuro Ji Tsera Kondo Yawa Tenjo Shinye Ngozo Zabedo Yahweh Nanzan Tenye Le Keje Zanyang Dopa Majur Ji